Hello ladies and gentlemen, Panzer here, and we're back with some more Crossout today, and I've been thinking about this one for a bit actually, and how to really approach this video, so bear with me on this one, because this is not going to be your typical sort of fun build, or even any kind of interesting build at all. But if you're just starting out in Crossout, this might be of interest to you. So what you're looking at right here is a blueprint known as the Spare. Now, you can access this blueprint from the factions page, and this is where you see all of the faction blueprints available to you from every faction that you've unlocked them from. And this is normally somewhere at the bottom, because I believe this is sorted by power score. So right at the bottom, it's the lowest power score vehicle you can get. And by hitting the load button, you can load that in and work from there. Now, what is this vehicle all about? It has 252 hit points, or structure points, which is not particularly high. It's armed with 2 starter miniguns, which are not particularly powerful. Even direct hits to the cabin will get you roughly 5 points of damage per hit. It also doesn't turn particularly well, it's not very fast, and it has very weak parts attached to it. However, there is one point that you might want to pay attention to. So we head over to build here. You will notice that every single part of this vehicle, and I mean that, every part, is completely 100% indestructible. So this is the vehicle you'll use if you don't want to suffer durability loss. But you might be thinking, well, that's what I'm stuck with then, it's not very good and I'm going to get myself killed. There is a twist to this, however. You have a lot of parts that you can actually use that are indestructible as well, and they can help to make you a lot more survivable. Now, firepower-wise, there's not a lot we can do about that in the indestructible tier, because unless you're lucky enough to have an indestructible weapon, you're probably not going to have anything that could really improve either of these things. So, what can we do then to make sure that we're a little bit harder hitting? Well, if you go to hardware, you should have a couple of weapon radiators. Now, these do have durability points, but they do drop very, very easily. And with the 6 points of energy that we have, we can actually put 2 of these on here. And this will allow us to already have a 60% increase in our weapon heat threshold, meaning you can fire these for much longer. So what about armor then? What can we actually do to increase structure points? Well, there's a lot of them in there. Now, one thing I have seen people use are radios. These actually have 26 points of structure, and they do help to buff up your health, but they have no armor points attached to them whatsoever. So bear in mind that taking a hit on radios will tend to result in you taking the same sort of damage as if it was hitting the cabin. Not exactly the most powerful of armors, but then again it is very popular because you do have a lot of them. Now, if you go to structure, we have a bunch of grills and things that we can use, and these do have a certain amount of structure points attached to them. In addition, we also have van roofs. So with a couple of van roofs, we can actually just attach those on here, and that already gives us a nice little boost to our structure points there, and a little bit more protection. And we can also put a bunch of fenders on the front. You should have some fenders at least, and that gives us a total of 4. Which brings our total structure points up to 370. Now, we only have 948 power score. With that, we're not really going anywhere. So let's armor this up even more with some tin caps. So tin caps actually do have damage resistance, something that a lot of people forget. We want to raise these up a little bit more to protect our weapons and our cabin as well. And while they don't have a lot of hit points, they do actually resist damage quite effectively for a while, so it does make you a little bit more survivable from the front. Now, as I've said in a previous video as well, we do have melee weapons as well, and you should have a couple of hatchets in your inventory. These are actually really good for resisting damage too, and these can protect you from rams from the front, which against new players is actually a fairly valid tactic, since a lot of the rams I've had on my vehicle happen to be from the front for some reason. So that definitely helps. Now, to protect from side rams, we'll simply copy these hatchets and place them in the middle somewhere, and that'll help to protect our wheels as well. So already we have 400 points of structure and 1200 power score. We don't really be wanting to push this up too high, so always remember to build economically and be aware of your structure points. Now, we don't want to make this vehicle too heavy either, so that's something to bear in mind. So one thing that we do want to bring out, and this will definitely help us in future as well, is to always have a fuel barrel. And this means that any wins that you get will allow you to gain a little bit of fuel, which is a valuable commodity. In fact, it's so good that you could even sell it on the market and be able to buy whatever parts you actually need. So that's something that we can do. With just a couple of van roofs and fenders, we already have 400 points of structure. But we have a vehicle that's now 3.5 tons. And I'm going to actually move the wheels back to kind of counterbalance that extra weight. So that's already a much better vehicle. And we can armor this up some more with a couple of fence pieces, which you should get if you're leveling up in the engineers quite well. So overall, a 1400 point vehicle with 425 points of structure. Not bad. And if we go into our test drive here, you can see just how much difference that weight makes. We're already quite sluggish, so if you do have a spare engine, feel free to throw it on here and take that in with you. Just remember, try not to actually bring too much or too many items that are going to get damaged if you lose a match. So if we keep firing, we're still doing the same amount of damage, but now we're firing for much longer. That going to be a kill? Absolutely. So that's 425 points of damage worth in just 3 bursts of the 2 starter miniguns. That's actually not bad, considering how weak these weapons generally are. So that's something to bear in mind. It's not the most useful build for a lot of people, I guess, but it's something to bear in mind if you find you want to get in there without any real fear of losing durability on anything. Then this is probably one build to look at. So I'm just going to adjust these back. I think they're actually affecting our maneuverability a little bit too much. And let's take this into a battle and see how we do. Alright, here we go. And this is a fairly low power score matchmaking that we've got here, but this is not an ideal map. And one thing that you have to be aware of is if you're using this kind of vehicle, you really have to adapt your playstyle to suit it. So don't go rushing in head first. Wait for the enemy to come to you and take shots of wherever you see an opportunity. Like here, we got a tiny little buggy that's coming in, and this is a bot, a very, very small bot, and we're trying to keep our front towards them where we have the most protection. Try and get the kills wherever you can, but really don't expose yourself in any way, shape, or form. And that's a kill for us. Try and get this guy as well. Got a kill assist, but that's still good enough for us. So we just hang back here, stick with the team, and don't be the one to get shot at first. One thing that you have to remember is that the starter cabin, at the moment, or the spare cabin, looks almost identical to the pickup cabin, with a little bit of extra rust. So if you have some spare paint, feel free to paint it up and disguise it. That way, most other people running pickups with machine guns on them will be almost indistinguishable to you. So you really just have to kind of hide within the pack and try to get the kills whenever you can. So, venturing out here is a very dangerous prospect, but we have a teammate going over there. We want to prevent him from getting flanked. So we're going to assist him here as he's pinning this, what looks like another player over here. Yep, that's another player, and we're going to try and get some shots in at the guy that's chasing behind him. Get some heat on them and distract them from our team over here. So really just playing a very supporting role and trying to be very, very, very careful. Always being aware of where your teammates are is definitely a big plus. Alright, so we're very exposed out here. Our teammate down there has been killed. So we want to pull back a little bit and let these guys come to us. So I'm going to relocate now because that player over there in the white vehicle is actually the only one on that side. So we're going to relocate and be somewhere near the back instead. I'm going to avoid going into the water simply because of how heavy this vehicle has become. And that's going to really slow us down if we go into the water here. So I'm going to try and take some shots here. Yeah, got a little bit of damage in. You always want to get just that little bit of damage so it counts as a kill assist. That's really it. So while he's distracted by our teammate over here, let's keep firing at him. And that secured us a victory because we've killed more of their team than they have of us. Now we didn't get any scrap out of that, but we got some fuel. We got a fuel barrel which we can sell, of course. And we've got a bunch of XP as well. Okay, second match here, and this is a much closer map, so you really have to be very, very careful about your corners and not really being the first one in. So letting the team go here. Sometimes, in fact, I do actually like to just sit at the base and not move. Pretend to be AFK, if you will, and let the team engage first. Oh, that's a shot on us, and it seems to have gone directly under us, so that's in our favor for now, but we're going to have to get away pretty quickly. And our only escape right now is through the water, so we're going to hug the edge there and try to get as far away as possible. Take some shots at this bot up here, and they've fallen in. Hopefully that guy up there with the cannon doesn't see us. Just trying to pick off this bot's machine guns here. Oh, something big has come off somebody else on that side. Now, we've taken a lot of damage from that bot in the water, so going to come around here and try to find a teammate to hang around with, and there's a bot coming at us right now. Now we're on fire. This is not going to go well. And of course there is another serving suggestion there for the starter cabin. If you have spikes, feel free to use them. They are also just as survivable as any other melee weapons, so feel free to use them. Alright, so the last match ended in a loss for us, but no sweat off our brow here because nearly everything on this vehicle is, of course, indestructible, so not really much in the way of durability loss. I mean, the two weapon radiators right now are literally the only things on here that could actually take any form of damage. So I'm just doing a little donut there to slow us down. And let's see if we can get around to the other side. Now, I did say this build is really just for supporting the team and you really want to stick with the team, but the reason I'm flanking over here is to really try and deter anybody from getting to our snipers up there, since they are I guess the key to this team. If you're not capping, then you're dealing damage from afar on this map, and you really do need to make sure that your snipers do stay in position. Oftentimes I've actually noticed that the times when snipers get killed is often the time where, well, the team begins to lose, since they're the ones providing top cover for you, and you really do want to protect them. So let's just keep moving here. We'll let our teammate engage this one, and just try to deal a little bit of damage from afar as per usual. Of course, he's a fairly tanky build there, so we should be quite okay. Generally, you'll find that most players will actually engage the biggest target first, and if not, they'll actually go for the weakest looking target first. So you want to be neither of those things that are immediately visible. So using this bot cleverly as a shield here. Let them shoot at that first. Hopefully we can get around. And we've stopped. So let them really just shoot at this bot first. And then we'll go in this corner and get a couple of sneaky shots in this direction here. And we've gotten stuck. Okay, and I guess this will be the last match of this video. And here we are on Founders Canyon, I believe. This is the name of this map. And oh, we've already seen enemies. So definitely want to be away from the immediate line of fire. Let's get over this way. Engage this one. There is an enemy over there. I believe they may have cannons. Yes, they do. Alright, well, the last match ended a little bit sooner than I would have liked, so let's try it one more time. Now, like I said, you really, really don't want to be at the front of the pack, so just kind of hanging back here with Oliver. Good job, Oliver. It's a nice water tank that you found. But yeah, just really kind of staying back and letting the team do its thing. And then just sort of coming in and trying to get a couple of assists here and there. That's the most you can really do. I have noticed that on this map as well, AI behavior seems to be that they do just try to charge in here. Pretty much immediately. So you really don't want to be going that way at all. And you can just see right here as we're shooting at this bot here just how much machine guns really do. I mean, this other player here has 3 machine guns, and it really has an effect. So if you're running this build and you want to go with a different loadout, you could put 1 light machine gun on here as well to really boost your firepower. However, bear in mind that that does have a durability on it, and that is something that we are trying to avoid for now. So you really do want to just keep it to items that are indestructible wherever possible. Now, light machine guns are very easily replaceable, so there is nothing wrong with actually using one if you want to. Alright, so I hope this gives you a good idea of what you can really do when things are getting very difficult to maintain. If you're really just looking to play for fun, of course, this is a build that is ideal, actually, because you really don't have to think too much about durability loss at all if you're running this build. However, bear in mind that it is not the best, and you will have to build it up slightly just to get some form of use out of it. Now, one thing as well is that you really have to play very, very smart. I can't emphasize that enough. So, just as a quick test drive, just to explain this last point, it's that machine guns have a unique ability that you really won't see on any other vehicle, really. And it's that they're very good at picking off particular parts. So here's our clone right here. And you can see that they have decent accuracy. They're not the most accurate, especially not at long range. But you can fire at particular parts and just sort of pick them off. So we can pick off the wheels, we can pick off the machine guns, and as much as possible work on your accuracy, so make sure that you can do that. Don't always target the cabin. If there's nothing else to shoot at, of course, the cabin really should be your priority. But if nothing else, go for, of course not melee weapons, but go for any weapons you see sticking out, any exposed hardware, especially fuel tanks. For example, we can see a fuel tank right there. So we might be able to knock that off, or we can shoot the armor in front of it. Just angle ourselves a little bit better. And you can see how much damage that does too. So you can really pick apart enemy vehicles when you're not being shot at. And that's the key thing. Always avoid being the center of attention so you don't get shot at first. And you can ensure that your vehicle stays intact long enough for you to really pick off parts of the enemy. And the last thing, of course, is be aware of weld points. Look at what things are attached to. For example, these hatchet blades are attached to the cabin, so they're not coming off. But if they're attached to the fender pieces like earlier, then you can just pick those apart entirely. And that, of course, applies to vehicles that you make yourself. You really want to be aware of where they're welded to, so that if that part gets destroyed, you don't want it coming off with it, necessarily. But yes, I'm afraid that is all we have time for. And just a quick look at a sort of indestructible build. Of course, it is basically impossible to really run a vehicle with no durability loss at all. However, the basic principle of it is to have as few damageable parts on your vehicle as possible. So in this case, this vehicle only has these weapon radiators on there, and if I take them off, then nothing on this vehicle will lose durability during a loss, and that's really, really important if you're just trying to get materials for things. And given the way that the loot, I guess, or reward system currently works in-game, if you're in PvP and you're not actually breaking parts off the enemy, you aren't going to gain scrap. You will gain fuel for a victory, but you won't really gain scrap from that, as far as I can tell. So whether or not that's true, let me know down in the comments, but nevertheless, it is beneficial to you to go and pick off those parts of the enemy vehicles. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments, and I will try to get back to you If you've tried a similar build to this, let me know how you got on down in the comments as well, and leave a like if you have enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. My name is Panzer, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.